Hello everyone and welcome to Old Timey Comics, where we head back into the past of superhero comics to check out all the good, the bad, and the absolutely ridiculous. All alterations of the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're heading back to September of 1962 to revisit one of our favorite shrinking scientists, Dr. Henry Hank Pym, in Tales to Astonish number 35 as he officially joins the score of superheroes in the stable of Marvel Comics. We have a quick recounting of Dr. Pym's misadventures in Tales to Astonish number 27, including his shrinking and getting attacked by ants, as well as returning to his former size and swearing off creating his growth and shrinking serums forever. Did I say forever? I meant a couple weeks, because in Hank's opinion the serums are just too important to not be recreated. He then locks them behind a secret wall safe in his office to make sure the wrong person doesn't get their hands on them. Ever since his close encounter of an insect kind, Hank has become obsessed with studying ants. Because that's exactly what I'd want to do after surviving a run-in with ants twice my size rather than developing a crippling fear of ants or myrmecophobia. Pym has become especially obsessed with figuring out how ants communicate. He's convinced that he just has to find the correct electronic wavelength because, you know, they have antennae like a radio or a television. Spoiler alert, ants do use their antennae to communicate, but actually do so using scent and pheromones. Regardless of this fact, Hank has developed a helmet in order to communicate with the ants, as well as a suit to protect himself from bites and stings when he presumably shrinks down to test the helmet. However, Dr. Pym hasn't gone completely back to his mad scientist ways. He's working on practical projects, just like he promised. He's been hired by the government and given a quartet of assistants in order to develop a gas capable of making people immune to radiation. Yeah, that's great in theory. They're in the middle of the Cold War, so if the nukes suddenly fly, it'd be great if the entire country could just ignore the ensuing fallout. The problem is, you can't just make everyone immune to radiation, at least not without some drawbacks. After all, there's radiation all around us, even if you only consider a little thing called the electromagnetic spectrum. Microwaves, radio waves, UV rays, and the entire range of physical light. After all, the sun is a giant ball of nuclear fusion, and I'd rather not consider what might happen if you made a large portion of the human race immune to sunlight. Now where was I? Ah, right. So of course the communists have found out about the project and want it for themselves. They barge into the lab and take Dr. Pym's assistants hostage. Luckily for Hank, none of the assistants know the entire process, and rather than tie him up like his assistants, the Russians simply lock Mr. Pym in his office while they ransack the lab. Hank's luck holds up, as none of the communist agents are in the room with him or bother to keep any kind of eye on him as he changes into his new Ant Man costume. He then sets up a rubber band and ashtray slingshot before applying his shrinking formula. Hope he bothered to leave the growth formula somewhere he can actually get to it this time. Hank fires himself out of the slingshot he set up and crawls his way under the partially open window. He then makes his way over to a nearby anthill for a quick test of his helmet. Hopefully it'll go better than his last untested invention and run in with a colony of ants. It's not off to a good start though, as the ants take notice of Dr. Pym and corner him. Also, did we have to give the ants human eyes? That's just unsettling. Out of other options, Hank's helmet allows him to succeed in communicating with the ants and they back off. Well, all but the largest one, which decides to be the ant version of a schoolyard bully and attacks. For some reason, even though it didn't seem to apply the last time he shrank, Hank now keeps his full-size human strength while ant size and chucks the offending ant bully away. Apparently not far enough away though, as the ant immediately comes back and bites down on Ant-Man's arm. Hank is unharmed though thanks to his steel mesh suit made of unstable molecules to try and somehow explain its durability and ability to change size with him. Now done playing with his new ant friend, Hank gives it a judo chop to the head to end the fight. This makes Ant-Man the new big insect on campus and king of the ants or something. Does anyone want to break it to him about the queen? I'm sure it'll be fine. There's now a bit of a Pied Piper bit as Dr. Pym leads his new army back to his lab, which I guess has gone from being just outside the window to practically a cross-country trek. Not only that, but Hank can't catch a break as a giant beetle wants a piece of him now for some reason. I'm pretty sure whatever kind of beetle it is doesn't eat ants, so maybe it's the fact that it's missing an antenna or has a creepy short front leg. Poor thing probably has no idea what's actually going on right now. Thinking fast, Hank rapidly digs a hole before playing Matador and tricking our poor confused beetle buddy into it. With the path now clear, Pym leads his army up the wall as the communists are just about finished searching through the lab. We don't have much comic left to go, so Ant-Man quickly goes into action untying his assistant's ropes and sends fire ants to harass the Russians, as well as another batch after their guns to plug the barrels with honey. Ants still aren't bees though, so where's all this honey coming from? Hank's assistants are now free and join the fray. Meanwhile, Hank takes a quick dip in the growth formula he actually bothered to set up beforehand this time. With that, the Russians have been taken care of as Hank wanders out of his office to establish a secret identity for Ant Man, since nobody's going to question what he was doing the whole time, and thus, a new hero has been born. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to show your support, or check out Old Timey Comics on Patreon to truly help the show to grow. Have a character or story you'd like to see covered in an episode? Let me know in the comments. If you want to check out this story for yourself, you can do so with a subscription to Marvel Unlimited or by purchasing it digitally. And stay tuned for the next episode of Old Timey Comics.